when we speak to people normally about investing in property, we're normally talking to that sort of top tier of the community who can afford to do it. And it's like, that's great, but what about the rest of the iceberg under the water? Right? There's all these people that would love to be investing and doing something, but they just can't. They can't afford it. They just can't be in that position financially for whatever reason to be able to have enough funds to get in to buy a full property. And the way we're looking at doing this enables them to get in to do something a little bit different. So I'll go through the presentation, give you a bit of an idea what we're talking about. If you've got questions as we go, fire away. Tonight's not meant to be me talking all night. Happy to answer any questions or any concerns you've got around the product or around what we're doing or around what we do in general, and happy to help with that. So yeah, SAFE Property Fractional Investing, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. New product. It's revolutionising your chance of investing in property sooner. Because a lot of people might have reasons why they can't. This is a great product that shows you how. So why buy an investment property? I mean, a lot of people, maybe some of you have invested property already in your lives. Some of you may have never invested in a property. So the idea is that, well, why do people buy property? I mean, it's a thing in Australia people love to do. They get excited about it. Everyone talks about it all the time. But I guess this video is sort of a bit of a funny video as to why, but it does answer some of those questions for you, right?
Excuse me, you just about the auction. Did you buy a block of land? Why not? How much did you want to bid? 1,600. And what were the prices at this point? The last 15 or so prices, some of the 2,000 have gone up to 3,000 or 4,000. So what will you do now? Well, we have to wait and hope for the best of the next one. I don't know if there's a complete shortage of land or what the position is, but the restricted auction was just the same.
Anyway, I mean, you still pay $100 a year.
How did you get the auction? Did you get a block of land you wanted?
Yes, we did. We were very fortunate this morning, and there was some high prices paid, but we paid the price that we thought was quite satisfactory.
You don't, congratulations, but if you don't mind me asking you, how much did you pay?
$3,100.
And what was the size of the land?
Approximately one room in areas, but 39.5 purchase is what
What was the frontage?
7 foot frontage.
And what depth?
I believe 120 feet.
So back in the day, $3,000, those high prices, weren't they? I mean, back in the day, that was a high price. But today, that same block of land, we all know it's going to be worth a lot more than that. So that's why people buy property, because it goes up in value over time, right? And time is where you make money on property. That's the advantage. So that's understandable. As a business, who do we help? People often say, well, who do you work with? Who are the people you guys help? Now, we can deal with first-time investors, mum and dad homeowners, or those people heading into retirement. So there's really nobody we can't help, I guess is more the question. Because, the first-time investors obviously are just first starting out. They're new to it. We can educate and teach them through that journey. Mum and dad homeowners, well, they might be around their own home, but they're in a position that they want to invest, but they don't know how, or they don't know if they can. And it's about really trying to make that sort of connection for them and show them that it is a possibility. Those heading towards retirement, obviously retirement retirement planning is a good thing to look at, and mostly those sort of clients are normally looking at income as being something to focus on, because they're heading towards that retirement age where growth is not as much as a prominent thing as it's going to be income. So we can help anyone in that sort of stages of life, which is basically everybody. Okay. So helping investors buy and manage profitable properties Australia-wide. This gives you just a bit of a breakdown of what we do and who we are as a business. So we have standard house and land packages and dual keys. We do NDIS, SDA, which is disability, house and land packages and dual key homes. We do SAFE Property Fractional Investing in SDA homes as well. So this is SAFE. What we're talking about tonight is going to be this product here. That gives you a bit of a breakdown of our business model and the group of companies we have and where we're structured and where we sit with all that. We've got Property Investment Store, we've got Saviour Finance, and we've got SDA Management Australia that looks after the management for our SDA NDIS homes. So there's a number of different businesses that look after different elements. But the idea is that we try and create a business that looks after everybody's needs and everybody's requirements when they come in to buy a property. So you're being looked after in a good way. So SAFE Property Fractional Investing, sort of weird terminology, I guess, but very simple. in the explanation. And I think the key thing about this is to not think too deeply about it. Right? It is a very simple product, and that's really what it is. Right? It's just a very simple concept. Most people, the biggest thing is, they would love to buy $1 million NDIS STA property to get all those benefits of all that great income that they can produce in a high growth area, getting me an excellent return, but I don't have enough money. This is a common thing we hear, right? They would love to do it, but I can't really do it. And it's not really for everybody in that case, because we don't want to squeeze people into that product, because it can be a little tricky sometimes, and if they get in a little tight, it can be a little hard to buy one of those properties outright if you're not in a good financial position. But that doesn't mean you can't still be able to invest in one. And that's the whole idea of SAFE Property and the fractional investing idea. So the idea of fractional investing is it effectively enables you to buy a portion of a property, allowing you to get all the benefits of owning a property without all the expenses. So in other words, for example, you might be able to, there's a property of 100%, and you go and buy a property, you'll buy that property, 100% of that property. With a fractional investing structure, you can buy just 5% of that property. Now that property could be a top shelf, excellent property, an excellent growth area, getting excellent returns, that might be a $1.2 million property. That there's no way a lot of people can afford that. They'll say, well, I can't afford to buy a $1.2 million property. The bank's told me I can't. I know I can't. So what am I going to do? But they love the numbers and everything looks good. Well, why wouldn't you get in and just buy 5% of that? Or maybe 10% or 15% if you can afford it. The idea is that you're still going to be getting the same returns and the same benefits on a smaller amount of money, but buying in a top level property, getting the top level returns, but with a very little money in. So it's a very simple process and a very simple concept. We've got a 65% main shareholder who structures the way that it's set up, and then we're selling off 5% shares. It's done as tenants in common. Okay, so this is the biggest thing. These structures for years have been done as unit trusts, and that's a bit dodgy and sketchy in how they do that sometimes. Okay, they can be a little bit set up to be, charging high management fees and all this sort of stuff you have to pay annually, and be a little bit sort of smoke and mirrors. The way we do it with our structure is it's done as tenants in common. You own your 5% no matter what. Even if the 65% shareholder sold out or went broke or whatever, wouldn't matter. Right? Your 5% is not going anywhere. Unless everybody in the whole project and all those percentage owners decide to sell at once, right, then your 5% is safe. Tenants in common is very strict. And the ownership is very much you own your share, that is it. No one can take it away from you. Right? So it's a very, very good way of owning it. And it means that you own that 5%, and that 5% you can keep. You can decide to sell whatever you want. It's up to you. Right? So who should consider a safe property? Well, young investors with a small cash deposit. Okay, we see a lot of young guys that work really hard. They've saved up $80,000, Oh, I've got $80,000, what can I buy? And we say, nothing. 80 grand's not enough. I know it's sad to say, but it's just not quite enough money in this market to get in the it's terrible. I've worked at 4 o'clock in the morning for the last 4 years, but not going out with their friends to save 80 grand. They've killed it, like to save $80,000 as an apprentice. I've seen young blokes that are 21, 22 years of age that have done this. You just think, so the problem they've got is they've got to keep trying to save to catch the market, and they're never going to do it. Right? This is an option that enables them to be able to get in and buy something and be on the train, even with a small percentage, and leverage that money now into a better position. Maybe in 5 years' time, they can be in a great position to cash out and then go and buy a full property. But there's no way they could do it in a normal structure and a normal savings pattern and keep up with the market. Investors who can't get approval to purchase a property outright. So could be a mum and dad, investor who just can't quite get enough the way interest rates are. It's making things hard. They can't quite get enough to borrow to buy a full property, but they might be able to get enough to buy 3 or 4 or 5 shares in one, or they might be able to get enough to buy 3 or 4 or 5 shares in 2 or 3 different properties that we have in the SAFE structure. They don't have to just buy all in the one property. They can buy in a number of ones we have options for. So, and we have different options in different areas on purpose for that reason. For different, some are more growth orientated and that sort of thing. So definitely, mum and dad investors that might be in that position. SMS investors with cash in their super looking to get a better return. This is a big one because there's plenty of people out there with self-managed super funds that have got cash in, just sitting there doing nothing. Oh, I've got a property already, but I've got 200 grand sitting in cash, just earning whatever. It's like, okay, well, why don't you put that into something and let it do something for you? It can make some great return on your money that's sitting there doing nothing. If you haven't got a self-managed super fund and you're in a position where the numbers, your numbers are pretty strong, well, it might be something to consider. You talk to people about that. We've got people you can talk to about setting one up. And the idea is that then you control your super. Hands up here, who knows where their super is right now? Okay, I didn't say what super fund it's in, where it is.
Yeah.
Right? Not many. That's the difference. Right? Not many people know. They go, oh, I don't know, they're investing in something. Well, let me tell you something that you probably didn't know last year. The top 12 super funds in Australia spent $80 million of your money on advertising. Sorry, 87 million. That was the number. Of your money. So everyone in this room here right now, all your money was probably spent on advertising last year. That ad, $500,000 just to make the ad. Wasn't any special effects in that. $500,000 of super fund's money to make the ad. You happy to do that? Keep it in your super fund with them. No worries. Or set up your self-managed super fund and do it yourself. Control it yourself. Run it yourself. Decide where that money goes to the dollar, not some crazy company spending it on advertising. Right? You guys need to be empowered with this sort of stuff and know. If you're going to hit retirement and go, that didn't work out so well. Well, you left it with some numpty to do all the investing and you have no idea where it probably is in most cases. Right? You might have your little split of portfolio, but you don't know where they're putting it. So look into that if that's something that's an option for you guys, because it's a great place to invest. You can buy a property or shares in a property, and if you earn an income, it's only a 15% tax rate in a super fund, in your self-managed super fund. Right? So any money you're earning as rent, 15 cents on the dollar. And then if you sold your share in the super fund for whatever reason, it's only 10% flat rate capital gains tax. Until you turn 60, then it's zero capital gains tax and zero tax. Great way to own a property. Now, might not be the great way right now because you've got other things in your life you're doing, but we can certainly look at the idea of putting a little bit away for later and doing something with it. Right, there's options there to look at. But I mean, it's a very simple process. Conservative investors not wanting to commit to a large investment. There's plenty of people out there that get nervous about spending $1 million on a property. Understandably, right? Might be older and they're thinking, geez, how am I going to pay that off? And that's scary, it's too much money. Understandably, I get that. And this product would suit them very well because it's such a small contribution to get into it to start. So it's very easy to get in. Investors looking to diversify, obviously, as I said before, 5% in 3 different properties. You spread your risk out, spread your money out in different areas, hedge your bets, rather than spending $1 million all in one. We had a lady the other day we were talking to was looking to do 330 in one area, 330 grand another, 330 another. What a great idea. I mean, she's now got diversification of the property locations with both, but she's also diversified her risk with the rent return as well. So she's spreading out her money in a wise way of doing it. If she did do it that way, it wouldn't be a bad option at all. Right? So there's many different people this can suit, probably many more that we haven't even come across yet. Right? But realistically, they're the sort of major, I guess, majority of people we see would be in that sort of position. So the numbers, as little as $60,000 investment. Right? So if you've got $60,000 in your bank account doing nothing, or in your super fund doing nothing, or even equity out of your home, you can borrow that $60,000. It's got to be cash. The purchase is a cash purchase, but you can borrow it out of the home loan and use the money if you needed to. It is an option. You're purchasing 5% of a property. That's what you're doing. You are on the title as a share. It's your share. You're on the title. In other words, you're on the rates notice. You are on title. Right? You get all the capital growth benefits. So if that property is a $1.2 million property, grows at 10% in that first year, for example, well, you get 5% of the 10%. Right? Still, you're getting all the relative elements about that. Obviously, there's cost involved with owning the property, and you also pay 5% of those costs. Right? So it's all relative. You own the property, but just 5% of it, same way you would own a full property. You can sell at any time, benefiting from the full capital gain of your share. Returns are up to 12% paid monthly. So the rent comes in monthly like it would normally with a property manager, and returns up to 12%. That's pretty good. So what am I investing in? So what are you buying when you're buying a 5% share in what? What are we talking about here, right? So it's an NDIS SDA property. And the reason why we can get these returns of up to 12% is because it's an NDIS SDA property. We've been in the space since it started 6 years ago. We've built over 100 homes now in the NDIS space. We also have a management business, as I said before, that looks after the management of NDIS SDA properties. And we're currently sitting at about just over 95% occupancy with our tenancies. So we're very good at getting down over to get tenants. And we are one of the, I suppose, one of the largest NDIS SDA management companies now in Australia and most successful. Not because I wanted it to be, just because we're doing the right thing. Because all these other people out there are trying to be dodgy and trying to make it like some sort of, retirement fund structure. We just want to set it up for our clients to work properly and be able to get the tenants in there. We're charging reasonable fees. We're being fair and reasonable what we do. And our business is obviously doing well because of it. But it's because we create good homes and we get the tenants in there because of that. All right, so we know what we're doing in the space. 14% of the population are on the NDIS, and it's a $30 billion per annum scheme. All right, so that's about 4 million people are on the NDIS in Australia. They've got some sort of disability that allows them to be on the NDIS. 6% of these people receive NDIS SDA funding. So 6% of the 4 million will able to be qualified to move into one of these SDA homes under their different levels they have. They have different levels of disability that they can apply to under, 4 different levels, and effectively those 6% hopefully will eventually, it's only at about 50% of that at the moment, eventually we'll get to the full 6% of people that will be able to be successful to apply for those homes. So there's still a lot still to go on the market, a lot of activity still to happen to get these homes rented. We design and build and manage the NDIS SDA homes, so we do everything. We work with our management company to make sure we're designing the homes the right way, and we build them in the right areas, and then our management company makes it a lot easier for them to get a tenant. So we listen to what they say, and we do it on this side, on the sales side, to provide them on the management side with a property that you can get a tenant faster for. Right, so that's a key part about it. Rental returns up to 12% per annum paid monthly, and we currently have over 95% occupancy rate. We've had 100% before, but it's a challenging space. You have tenants that move out for different reasons. They might go back to hospital because they're sick. We have had some tenants die. These participants aren't getting any better. When they're approved for SDA, it means they've got a significant disability. And that significant disability could be a constant or it could be a deteriorating one. So there is that challenge in the space, if you like, So, there's 3 key factors we believe that contribute quite strongly to successful capital growth. And finding areas that have obviously good infrastructure projects, good government spending, and good population growth. When we look at areas that we build our homes, these are the 3 elements we're very focused on. We're trying to find areas that have those great infrastructure projects with money coming in to fund those projects, because that creates jobs. Government spending will often go hand in hand with that and mean that there's obviously money being spent by the government. And then the population growth, well, obviously that's because there's jobs there, there's opportunity there, people are moving there for work. That brings then all the people in, which then brings pressure on the market, which pushes the market up. So those 3 things are all relative to how well capital growth will happen in any area. If you don't have good infrastructure projects or government spending and low population growth, you won't have much capital growth. It's that simple. It's a supply and demand type mentality. So we do look heavily for this sort of structure when we do look at areas for growth. That's the growth side. The other side about it is the cash flow side. Right? Big believer in the concept that cash flow is king. When you're buying an investment property, you've got to pretend you're buying a small business, right? Because that's really how it runs. If you don't have the cash flow, you don't have the money coming through, then you can't survive in a small business. Same thing as investment property. A lot of people out there we see have bought properties that are just not suited to them. They've got no cash flow. It's just killing them, especially properties in Sydney. We've got clients here getting 2.5% return, and they are struggling, especially as the rates have gone up. It's really starting to hurt, starting to bite. And we don't want that. We want clients to be well cash flowed and be able to weather the storms of rate hikes and things like that. So definitely that's something we're very passionate about. So what does an NDIS SDA home look like? All right, so this is people with disability. A bit scary. What am I buying, right? Well, let me show you what some people are buying. And we refer to it more as the ugly, because this is unfortunately what's being built. in this space. Okay, so lovely home, this one, brand new disability home. You wouldn't tell from looking at it from the street, would you? I reckon that's quite a good sized wheelchair ramp there right up front, and it's pretty obvious. That home also, the driveway, we've got another photo, a different angle, and this driveway is so steep, and there's a gap right there. So if you were in your wheelchair and you tried to get that a little bit backwards and you went down this driveway, you'd be in a world of pain. I don't know how they even got past, but this is the sort of stuff they're building. But wait, there's more, because then you go inside. Look at the bathroom. Hang on, is that a prison bathroom? Or is that a disability home bathroom? I can't tell the difference right now. Right? That is what some people are selling to people with disabilities and say, you go and live in that. No worries. Now, I'm sorry, but if I had a disability, any one of us here could be in the boat one day where we actually, for some reason, something would happen to us, we could end up with SDA funding looking for an SDA home to live in. Right? Because disabilities aren't always born. Sometimes it happens later in life. Right? And if you had the choice in your life where you want to live, which people with at different levels, when they get to choose, the whole idea about the NDIS is that choice and control is given to the participant. So they get to choose where they want to live, and they have to pay the same amount of money. Doesn't matter where they live and what they live in, the same amount of money that comes out of their pocket, 25% of their pension, goes towards their rent as an SDA person, right? So they get to choose. So if they're given a house with a lovely bathroom like this and a lovely front entrance like that, and there's the kitchen, right? And this is a brand new house. Right? I mean, it just looks terrible, right?
Only 70s paneling.
So that's the ugly, which is plenty of it around, right? Because it's a compliant home. The builders built a compliant home. They told me to build compliant. So I built it exactly like Tesco told me to build it. Just compliant equals ugly. That's the problem, right? So we said, no. Why does it have to equal ugly? Why can't you build a compliant home that actually looks like a normal home? You just got to try hard. You got to try and find the products that work and make it look like a regular home, but still be compliant. So this is the difference, right? So this is the good. There's one of our homes. You can't tell from the front that's a disability home, nor that one, nor that one. It's a regular house to me, right? Then you come inside. That's the kitchen, right? Another kitchen. Another kitchen. Bathrooms. It's a regular bathroom to me. They get to choose. Which one would you choose with the same amount of money? Right? Most of these people, we've got one client moved in recently, he's 56 years old. He's never ever lived in his own home his entire life. He's lived in institutions, hospitals, and prison because it was the only place they could put him to keep him safe and other people safe because they had nowhere else to put him. Until we got a house for him. And he went, oh my goodness, like he said it was like being in the movies. This is like a movie house. He couldn't believe it. He was just blown away. He never lived in a house his entire life. And this is the sort of thing now he's living in versus where he was living before. Right? So this is the key. Now, we also create these to get tenants, yes, but the flip side of all this is because they look like a regular house, if you ever wanted to sell it for any reason, you could sell it to mum and dad and the two kids. They could move in tomorrow. It doesn't look like a disability home. Right? It's got elements in there that are there that are disability elements. If you look hard enough, you'll find them, but they're not obvious. Right? So this is the key, and this is what you're buying. Why aren't you buying a 5% share with a SAFE? You can buy a full one if you can afford it, no problem. But today's about the SAFE. You're buying a 5% share of one of these homes, effectively. Right? That sort of quality. So you know you're getting a good quality home. You know where you're going to get tenants that want to live there, want to pay. They'll pay their money towards living there. We've shown it time and time again. So which would you choose? Right? That's obviously the case, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious. Now, let me give you the example of 3 properties right now that we have available. Okay, these are SAFE property examples we have available. One of them, the first one's in WA in Sanagra. WA, I would say this area, Sanagra, is going to be, I reckon it's going to have some great steady growth over the next sort of 5 to 10 years, no doubt about it. It's going to be a good growth area. But the income's very, very good. You know, I mean, you're talking about gross yield up to 12.78% for this one. It's a $60,513 5% share purchase price and a 1.210268 purchase price as the overall package, right? So that's a classic example there. It's a dual key, so it's a 3-bedroom with a 2-bedroom. It's going to get annual rent is $154,720, which is about $2,900 a week, which is 12.78% gross rent. So 2 participants, one either side. That's what we're quoting it on, and that's what we can get. I mean, we know how to rent these. We've done these before, so we know we can get tenants in there. The next one steps up a little bit in price and location. It's in Caboolture in Queensland. Caboolture is probably Queensland's highest demographic of people with disabilities that live in that area. And at the moment, they are screaming for new homes there. It's just that the prices have gone up so much in that area that it's just very hard now for people to actually build the homes for disability in that area. So when we first started 4 years ago and started building there, it was like a ghost town. We were told it was this great area, and then we couldn't get anybody, and the people were like, well, you told us it's a good area. Now we've got clients that bought there a few years ago that are making 19% return on their investment property because it's just gone nuts, right? Because finally they've registered everyone now for SDA, got them ready, but there's no properties now. So really hot area for SDA homes. Obviously the purchase prices jumps up because the land cost mainly, that's the main thing, the land cost jumps up quite significantly. But same thing again, a little bit more expensive, but this is more for someone who wants a growth area and definitely, get that strong tenancy. So it's definitely, a bit more balanced, sort of 9.9%. So it's dropped down a little bit for the return, but the growth is going to be higher. So you might make it up on the other end in the growth side. Right? The third one is here in New South Wales, in Tarmore in New South Wales. Now I think Tarmore's a little gold mine because Tarmore, like a few years ago, Tarmore, where's Tarmore? It's like miles away. As soon as that airport opens up, that whole southwest corridor is going to be just annihilated. There's houses everywhere. It's going to be crazy. I mean, I don't see what they've done with the roads down there lately, with the overpass going over the Hume Highway and all the stuff they're building. It's out of control. So that whole area is going to go crazy. It's an expensive package, right? The price, your yield drops down quite a bit, but you're investing in Sydney. You're buying a 5% share in something in Sydney. You can just sit on and just let it do its thing for however long. It's a dual key property. It's going to get some serious growth over that time, we believe. But still, 8.68% in Sydney, like people are getting 2.5% in Sydney. So it's still very good. It's still very strong, and the numbers are good. But once again, we're trying to offer people different choices. People might want to buy because they might want more growth and they want income. That's fine. We're giving them the choice of where you want. You tell us which one you like. All right? So it depends. Or they might say, you know what, I'll take a 5% share, one in each one. And they hedge your bets between all the 3 different states, and you get all that advantage of the different growth. Right? So there's so many different ways you can put the puzzle together. I've done a quick example here on what we call our PIA program, which is a program that you run the numbers on and you can get a bit of a cash flow sort of analysis on the numbers. So I've used the $1.2 million property here, $1.210 million property, 7% capital growth rate I've used, and I've used the rent, which is $151 a year. And I've used the tax credit of 15 cents a dollar because most people would tend to be buying stuff in a super fund for this sort of thing. So based on this, it's about $1,834 a week positively cash flow, right? Which is, if you take that 5% of that, it's about $91 a week positively cash flow. So you invest your 60 odd grand and you're getting $91 a week in positive cash flow after all the costs, because that's after costs. Right, so this is your net figure. And that $91 obviously can just be put back into the account, and usually you can use it yourself. If it's in super, you've got to keep it in super. If it's outside of super, you can spend it on your home, whatever you want to do. But it's positive cash flow, it's positive income. And I think the thing to look at here is, if we look at the growth rate of 7% average, we've got in 5 years' time it's worth 1.697, in 10 years' time 2.381. All right? So it's gone up quite a bit. So what I wanted to do was pull those numbers out of that and show you here how that sort of works, right? So if the purchase price is $1,210,000, you got invest a 5% investment, which is $60,500. So that's your initial outlay. There's some costs involved because you'll pay stamp duty, you'll pay legals and that sort of stuff. But let's just go with the numbers, keep it simple, right? So in 5 years' time, that property value has gone up to $1.697 million. which means now your 5% value, oh, sorry, that should be 5 years, not 10. In 5 years' time, it will be $84,850. So you've turned your 60,000 into 84 in 5 years' time. Not bad. It's reasonable growth, 7%. Right? But in 10 years' time, you've turned that $60,000 into 119,000, which is not bad. Right? For 60 grand just over that time frame, it's a pretty good jump in what you've got there. But you've got to remember too, there's income on top of that. Right? So we've got income in year one, which is 151,000. 5% of that is 7,550 per annum. Okay, 5% income after 5 years. I'm just taking the income and I'm just timesing it by 5. I'm not allowing for the inflation in the income, so I'm being very conservative with the numbers, right, just to keep it easy. In 5 years' time, that's $37,050 you've earned. Okay. In 5% of income after 10 years is $75,500 you've earned in income. Right? That's conservative too. So if we then sort of join that up, right, and we say, well, in the growth, you've made 84 plus your 37. In 5 years, you've made $122,600 on income growth. Right? In 10 years, you've made $194,550. It's not bad. Now, if we use that same 60 grand and we whacked it in a bank account at 4.5%, in 5 years' time, we've made $24,000. So what's your money doing right now? If it's sitting in the bank or it's sitting somewhere where you're going to get 4.5%, that's what your return's going to be in 5 years' time. Versus that. Not bad. So any questions on the numbers? Because there's a lot of numbers going on there. So any questions on the numbers?
I mean, we've got some sushi. which bank is paying 4.5%?
Well, yeah, I was being generous. It's a very friendly bank.
Yeah.
I thought that was taking you up on the offer.
Sushi.
Any questions, guys, on the numbers? This is just raw numbers. This is raw, in other words, the gross numbers. So obviously there'll be numbers that would come out and things like that, and costs and insurances and rates and other things that would come out. Once again, you're only paying 5% of those elements. But these are the gross numbers. Even if we took off 50 grand over 10 years on the gross numbers, you've still got 150 grand you've made. You know what I mean? Like, the numbers are still strong.
Yeah.
For the fact that now, just think about it, right? Let's say, for example, you've got your mum and dad with 3 kids, and one kid's 4, 6, and 8. Okay? If you said, well, you know what? We've got some equity in the house. Why don't we go and put 180 grand and go and buy 3 shares? Now, you spend $180,000, pull that money out of the home loan, go and buy 3 shares. That money coming in from the rent, which is $7,500 a year, will easily cover the payments on that. Easily. On those borrowers. Right? And you would have some costs coming out, and you still probably positive cash flow, even if you did that. Right? So you'll be in a position that 180 you've taken out of the home loan, you've gone and bought those shares, is just covering itself. It doesn't matter. It'll just do itself forever. Just keep running itself, and it won't even notice it's there. And what if in 10 years' time, you're at that position? Well, you can pretty much, if we said, in the next add another 5 years to that, you're going to have to be up close to 300,000, eh? Because we start talking capitalisation here on everything. It's going to be very close to $300,000 with another 5 years on it. Which means in 15 years' time, when your kid turns 22 or 23, here you go, Johnny, here's $300,000 to buy your first home. Costs you nothing to do it. Things pay for itself the whole time. Just, how many generations could we set up by doing this? This is what excites me, because I just look at the numbers and think, this is crazy. Or let's put Johnny's money in the savings account, right? And get this for the next 5 years. It's not going to buy anything. Whereas it costs you nothing to do it. You borrow the money, right? You've had the rent's been paying the loan anyway and just doing your thing. And then you probably almost paid it down at that time, or at least a big chunk of it. And then you hand them that money at that time frame and say, there you go, there's your deposit for your house. Yeah, okay, in that time frame, 300 grand won't be worth as much as it is now, right? But still, it's better than nothing. It's a start, gives them a leg up, gives them an opportunity, and it's cost you nothing to do it. So these are the sort of things you've got to look at. Or if you bought in your super fund, you know, you just buy one share for 60 grand in your super fund, and you've made 200 grand over the time. It's cost you nothing to do it. Really, like, you know, this is why it's such a good opportunity. So, as I said before, we've got our different group of companies that can help you with all the different services. You know, if you need help with obviously the management, we do the management for the disability side of the business, which is the SDA Homes. We also have a charity element of our business, which if you borrow money through our SAFE Finance side of the business, we do give back to charities of your choice, or our charity if you don't have one, which is Destiny Rescue. We like to support what they do. They do amazing work, freeing kids from child sexual slavery around the world. There's over 1 million kids in sexual slavery around the world, and these guys go in and just do raids and get these kids and free them, and it's amazing what they do. So we support what they do in a great way. But you know, don't get too caught up in all the you know card bits. People suffer analysis paralysis. They overanalyze and they just don't do anything. But the opportunity here is simple. If you have 60 grand doing nothing that could be doing better, yeah, all right, we'll buy a share in this. What do you got to lose? Leave it where it is and it's not making much money. Whereas one of this, you own a share of property. It's yours, you know, and you can get a good return on it. So that's as simple as it is. And you just got to think about what your number one purpose is. What's your why? Why do you want to be here tonight? What's interested you about coming here? Is this sort of thing suit you? You know, that's what you've got to make that question. You've got to ask yourself that question. What's your why? What's next? If you want to chat to us, happy to chat. We just want to educate you tonight a bit about all this and what we do and how we do it and why we do it. And hopefully that does help a bit with the numbers. So, any questions, guys?
Anthony, just a question with the participants. So you've got a 3-bedroom and a 2-bedroom dual occupancy.
Yep.
Can you put 2 on one and 1 on the other?
Yeah, but you can't put 2 robusts on one side and one on the other. So robust participants, they can't share. So we only quoted as, because we register it as a robust design house, which is for people with intellectual disabilities or behavioural issues. So they don't play well with each other usually. So they don't let them share. So normally we just quote it as 1-on-1. There's no reason to, sometimes we might not find 2 on one side who are different leveled, you know, participants. But yeah, we just quote it as the simple, most logical, straightforward version. But any other versions might be a win. Yeah, so we just sort of take a simple, conservative approach. Yeah.
So regardless of whether roadside the tenant everyone splits the...
You get 5% of whatever. You get 5% of all the bills, you get 5% of the income. That's it. It's all fair as your share. You pay your share, you get your share. So it's all relative.
How does it work when you want to sell your share?
Good question. So the 65% shareholder, they are the first right of refusal. So if you want to sell your share, you offer it to them. They say yes or no. Good chance they'll say yes and buy it. You have 2 valuations done, and they just average out the valuations, like proper valuations, and they average out the valuations, and then that's what you sell it.
If they say no.
If they say no, it comes back to us. Then what we're going to do is we're going to actually help on sell it for you. We're just going to have a flat fee of $5,000 that we charge to a seller, and we're going to get one of our other investors who might want to buy into a going concern, right? Because it might have 3, 4, 5 years of rental income and all the proof of the numbers and all that. So we can show them something that's real, exists now, and they get rent for, or they can buy one that's going to be built not. But they might say, yeah, I'm happy to jump in something that exists now. So we're excited about if people do, and we do get them, because we believe there'll be a lot of people who want to buy the ongoing shares.
Yeah, they don't have to wait for the bill.
That's why for the bill, they get rent straight away. Because they might be like retired, and they might say, well, I want to put 300 grand in this and get an income today. Okay, well, we can get ones that people are selling and are available. Yeah, so there's options there to do that, yeah. But it's all very fair and simple and straightforward, so, yeah. Any other questions? I mean, obviously you can look to buy complete properties, no problem with that, right? But tonight was just about the fractional version of it. You know, the same rules apply with a complete one, it's just that they just buying 100% instead of 5%. So no real difference. Any other questions, guys? Nothing? No.
I might just add
Quite
something.
thousand, yeah.
That's okay. I'm going to share where I found this really valuable, and I was excited for a client of mine who tried to buy a property in his own name and he couldn't get the finance, he couldn't get approval,
No.
his credit rating was under par. And when I told him this, he had a nice chunk in his super. And all he wants to do is invest in property. So he's getting on board with one of these. He's so happy. It's finally going to happen. Because he doesn't have a house. He rents. And this is his one way into getting into property. He's a 48-year-old guy. And he's finally found a way to get in. That's what this is about to do. So.
You know, once you get that money coming through too, once he opens up another share, he can buy another share. And we did analysis with this as well, with like someone who bought 3 shares, and then like they were getting their contribution from their employer, and then the rent was coming in, and I think it was every 3 years there was enough money building up again to go and buy another share. So they could just keep going and buying shares. And I think by the time, I think it was over a 15-year period, they'd done 13 shares. And the value was huge, and the numbers were great, the income was great, it was...
This guy's on a very low income, and he can get 4 of these over the next 10 years. So it's really got a strategy to take him through.
Look, some people, even if it gives them a little bit more income, it's better than nothing, Anyway, feel free to chat to everyone afterwards and ask any questions you got, but thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.